Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I'm Amanda Scarnechia. I'm from Scott's Miracle-Gro, and this is very fitting for wrapping up the conference. So we've talked so much about email. We've talked about measurement. We've talked about content, personalization. But what I want to talk about is taking a step back and understanding how email fits into that larger omni-channel consumer journey. So how do we get better at connecting the dots? So a little bit about what I'm going to talk about today is some of the initiatives that Scott's Miracle-Gro is doing coming up into this next year to help create a more cohesive omni-channel experience for our customers. Just to give a little bit of background about Scott's Miracle-Gro, so it's not just Scott's, it's not just Miracle-Gro, we support 6 different brands. So Scott's Miracle-Gro, Ortho, Roundup, Tomcat, and we also have Bonnie Plants. And this is going to play a key part in kind of further down in the presentation. Also, we just started doing direct-to-consumer a couple years ago, but the majority of our sales and our revenue that we bring in is through our big 3 retailers, so Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart. Let's start by talking a little bit about me. So I've only been with Scott's for 4 months now, and I've only been in email marketing for about 3 years, so I'm a newbie. I actually have a background in product design. I worked in that field for quite a while. I'm an Ohio State alumni, go Bucks, woo! I do have this really awesome dog named Tucker. I miss him, and I'm looking forward to seeing him when I go back. I love NASA, so I've always wanted to work for them. My favorite movie is October Sky. And one thing I love about email is emojis and using them appropriately and in the right context. So here's the thing. Consumers ingest thousands of pieces of content every single day, every single hour, all different channels. So the problem is, how do we break through that thousands of pieces of content that people are digging through every single day? So that's a challenge that all of us as brands are facing. How do we get consumers to engage with us, our brand? And a key part of that is multi-touch experience, making sure we're continuously touching the consumer across different channels at different touch points. So how do we do that? How do we get consumers to engage with our brand? How do we get them to convert? So we have to take a step back and understand, what do we want our consumers to do? They want us to tell them what they need in order to do what they need to get to the end of the funnel. So in this funnel, there's multiple touch points to actually get to the bottom. So where does it start? People need to be aware of the brand. And then further down the line, they need to engage with the brand. Engage with the brand through email, opening an email, going onto a website, doing some research. And ultimately, we want them to make a purchase. And it doesn't stop there. Post-purchase, what's the next step? So after making a purchase, we want our consumers to advocate for us. We want them to share positive reviews about the products. We want them to not only be repeat customers, but also loyal customers. Come back and use our products year after year. So how do we get them to the bottom of the funnel? So 3 very simple tips. Deliver personalized content in the channels preferred. So what does this mean? We've talked about personalization this entire conference, and it's very specific to every single brand. So for us at Scott's Miracle-Gro, the way that we understand personalized content, we actually look at our individual brands and the audience of each individual brand. So I will tell you, of our 6 brands, they're a completely different audience. I'll give an example. For our Miracle-Gro audience, it's more gardeners, and really the channel that they like to engage with us in is our social channels. They love to find inspiration for their gardening projects on our Instagram, on our Pinterest, and so we deliver that content in that channel because that's what they preferred. That's what that audience wants. Another example of personalizing content, so when we work with our large retailers, Lowe's, Home Depot, we look to see when our Scott's products are on sale throughout the year, and then I go and I align our content for mobile as well as email for those sales. So we're not allowed to promote Home Depot sales and Lowe's sales within our own personal Scott's emails, But what I can do is make sure that we are talking about seeding, we're talking about fertilizing at the exact same time that Lowe's is having a sale on seed or fertilizer. That way, when our consumers are going to make a purchase in store, they recall the email they received about us talking about seeding and fertilizing. This is the time to do it, and it's more likely to get them to convert and make a purchase in store. I talked about this already. I'm going to continue to reiterate it. Multiple touch points throughout the consumer journey. It's very important in order to get through that giant block of content that consumers are engaging with every single day. One thing to mention about this, though, although we want to continue to engage with our customers along different channels, we have to remember there has to be a cadence. If you do it too often, you send too many emails, you send too many push notifications, you could potentially lose a subscriber. They unsubscribe and you're not able to market to them again. And it really depends on the brand, what that cadence is. I know for Scott's, we don't send messages every single day. That would turn our customers off. So finding the appropriate cadence that works for your brand is really important in delivering these multiple touch points. And then creating a seamless experience. So part of this, like Steve mentioned, breaking down the silos of all the different channels. You need to be able to work with other teams, communicate with your web team, communicate with your social team, and even beyond that, communicating. I know that there was mention of talking about your customer call center, making sure that they're aware of what communications are going out, especially for email. So when you're sending a big email blast out, part of our process at Scott's is to make sure our consumer call center is aware of what we're sending. They actually are in the review process, and then when it goes out, they're able to respond to customers that call in that might be confused and be able to answer their questions. Another big thing is making sure your technical team is included. So back-end web developers, knowing when we're sending an email out so the website doesn't crash. So that process of having a seamless user experience, you go to open an email, you go to the website, it's not crashing, it's still there, or even mobile app. We've crashed our mobile apps before, sending too many people there to download the app. That's a problem. So making sure all the teams are aware of what's going on, especially with email and how email can actually impact the different channels to create that seamless user experience across channels. So I'm actually going to dig a little deeper into those 3 specific tips and how we're going about doing this at Scott's. So I talked about delivering personalized content. What we do is understand our audience, and we use personas. I'm actually going to walk through an example. We've got Robert here, and you can see he's a new homeowner, but he's got a lot of weeds in his grass. He's never tended to a lawn before, but he's in this nice suburban area, and he really wants to have the best lawn on the block. He has no idea how to do it. He's never done this before. So he's unfamiliar with the tools he needs, but he wants something that's quick and easy. He's a busy guy. He wants a do-it-yourself thing, but he wants it quick and easy. So what's the first step that most people go through when they want to try something new? They do their research. They go to the web. They go to Google. Sometimes they go to YouTube if they're Generation Z. So this is what Robert did. He went on the website, he did some Google searching, and he came across the Scott's website. From there, he did a little bit of research, a little bit of digging to try to find what he was looking for to have that best lawn. While he was on the website, he noticed he's able to actually download our My Lawn app, and with the download of the My Lawn app, he's actually able to get a personalized bundle, a personalized experience of how to go about for his particular lawn. So it asks some survey questions of how large is your lawn size, what is the color of the grass, how many weeds do you have in your lawn, all of those different things. So he enters in his information, and now he's able to kind of have a personalized plan of how to go about approaching getting the best lawn on the block. One cool thing about him downloading the app, that was also a source of email acquisition. So we now have his email on file. So next step, a couple days later, he's casually browsing on Facebook, and he gets served an ad of one of the products that he looked at while he was on the Scott's website. He clicks the link, he goes back to the website, does a little bit more digging. He also puts something in his cart. He thinks, this sounds great. I think I'm ready to pull the trigger. Not sure. Doorbell rings, pizza delivery guy shows up. He kind of just abandons his web browser session, kind of forgets about it, he's starving, and leaves it at that. Next step, so he had abandoned his web session, but he had left an item in his cart. So we trigger an hour later an abandoned cart email, which says, hey, you left this in the cart. Are you still interested? He's really still not sure, as he's new to this. He's not sure if he's ready to make a purchase. So what he decides he's going to do, he's going to go to Lowe's the next day and go in store and actually check out the product. And then he's going to compare that product to other products that are right beside it and see really is that what he wants to purchase. He gets into Lowe's. He has the mobile app downloaded. He gets a triggered push notification that says, hey, you're in a Lowe's. We've got 20% off coupon for you today. And then it also triggers a reminder message that, hey, it's also the good time to actually fertilize your lawn. Pick up your Scott's product. From there, he's thinking, oh, I'm in the store, and now I actually have a coupon. I think I'm ready to make the purchase. So actually being able to deliver that content at the point of purchase is really key to getting Robert to convert. So he makes the purchase in store. Now that he's made the purchase, what's next? We always have to consider what's the post-purchase journey that we put our consumers through. We want to build loyalty. We don't want them to just buy that one bag of fertilizer. We want them to also buy seed. We want them to come back next season and buy again. So how do we go about building that seamless user experience after they make a purchase? So in email specifically, we do follow up with content of the product that they did purchase, if they purchased direct to consumer, and how to use the product. So sometimes it's confusing, especially if you're new to using our products. You may not know how to use them. So giving some best tips of how to apply, when to apply, all of that is included in those types of triggered email messages. Something we're not doing right now, but we want to get to, is recommending other products that could be fitting with what had already been purchased. So you bought a bag of fertilizer, well, you probably need some seed too, or maybe you need some patch, so you have some patches in your lawn. So adding those types of products and recommending them as, hey, this is a great idea, you should add this to your cart as well. I talked about this already, call center, making sure that they are aware of all the products. On our campus, we have a lot of research and development. They have backgrounds in PhDs. They have actually trained all of our call center folks who answer the phone so that they are aware of how these products work, and they are able to answer any questions that come in from our call center. And finally, we want consumers to advocate for our brand. So how do we do that? Well, we ask them to hopefully write a positive review, but we want them to really advocate for us. We want them to tell us about tell their friends about us. We want their friends to purchase our products. So really getting to the point where they're dedicated, they're loyal consumers, and they are actually advocating for us now. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into how we are personalizing our journeys at Scott's. And just to take it back a little bit, a lot of these things are on our roadmap for next year. Some of the stuff we have actually started, and some of the stuff we're in progress, but we're not quite there. So hopefully I can report back on it next year. So first thing, what's important about going and tracking across journeys, you have to have analytics. And that's always been an issue for understanding cross-channel behavior for consumers. So what we do is we actually use Adobe Analytics, and all of our analytics are all in one place. So our web analytics data, our email analytics data, mobile app, as well as social, all feeds into one place. Now, where there's a little bit of a disconnect is, okay, they're all in one place, but are they talking to each other? So what we're doing, we're actually implementing, it's called an MD5 hash ID. And really what this is it's kind of like a unique identifier to identify a consumer across different channels with this just one, it's kind of just has characters in it, and basically be able to see what the behavior the consumer is doing across all of the different channels. So in order to implement this hash ID, you have to really integrate it with all of your different channels. Right now we have it integrated with email. We have it integrated into our web. But there are places it's not integrated. It's not integrated in our social channels. It's also not yet at the point of email acquisition. It's not integrated there as well. So that's something we're working on, getting it integrated into all of those places. So especially at the beginning. email acquisition. So that when we go into Adobe and we're looking to see the consumer behaviors, where people are dropping off, where people are converting, we're able to connect the dots by looking at that hash ID across the different channels. Geofencing in the app. So the My Lawn app, we have not started this. We're going to be starting beta testing for this early January. So again, we're working with Adobe for this. So in our app, essentially I talked about this in our example with Robert. When a consumer enters a Lowe's or Home Depot store and they have their app downloaded on their phone, they actually get triggered messages, which will either give them a coupon of whatever the store is, 20% off, general coupon, but also a marketing reminder of this is the time to seed your lawn, this is the time to fertilize your lawn, pick up your bag of Scott's products. Or if there happens to be a sale on a Scott's product in the store, getting that push notification while they're in that store. It is highly effective in creating more conversions at the point of purchase. So that's something that's on our roadmap. We haven't done yet, but we're going to, and we're really excited about. So we're talking about cross-channel experiences. It's not always just digital. We're going to bring back direct mail. So how are we using direct mail? We actually have a very specific use case for it where we have a product, a Scott's products, and it's a 4-bag bundle of fertilizer. It's at about the $100 price point. You actually can only purchase it direct to consumer. But what's really neat about it is when somebody goes there to our website, they're looking at the product, they're kind of trying to decide whether they want to purchase it or not. They may even put it in their cart, but we don't have an email address on file for them. We can't retarget them with an abandoned cart email. How do we recapture them without retargeting with ads? So we can do the ad placement, but we wanted to try something different. We wanted to try retargeting through direct mail. So how are we going to go about doing this? Basically, with the direct mail, how it works is it's kind of this, they're able to see the IP address of the user that we don't have an email address for. That's most likely to convert. They may have visited multiple pages on the website. They might have actually added the item to their cart. And essentially, within 2 to 3 days, we'd be able to retarget them at their mailing address. So it's kind of like a reverse append to that IP address that we can see on file, and send them a piece of direct mail to give them a little bit more information about the product bundle and what they're going to get with it. We've considered doing a postcard. We've also considered doing even more of a brochure thing, just depending on like the product. And one thing that our Scott's consumers, we know about them is they love to get information. They love the educational piece of what we provide them. So sending them a brochure of how the products work and what they're getting out of the bundle, we think that'll really help to drive conversion rates. It's said that like between 3 to 7 times the revenue is brought in when using this method of direct mail. So we're going to try it. We're going to try it early next year. We haven't done it yet, but we're really excited about trying something different and kind of going off of the digital path. And last, granular segmentation. So we talked a little bit about this. Well, you don't want to get too granular. Sometimes the big blasts are sometimes good. They work really well for some brands. And they work well for us too. But we're going to try something new, something we're really excited about, and it's very specific to Scott's. So we're a company, everything that we do is based on weather. So we're a seasonal company, and the weather in Florida is not the same as in the Pacific Northwest. It's not the same in Massachusetts. Even the products used are not the same. So what we want to start doing is triggering messages based off of weather. We are already doing this in our mobile app. So in the My Lawn app, and it's all based on zip code. So at your zip code, we have an integration with a Weather API app, or with the Weather API. And in the app, by zip code, we're able to understand whether or not there's been precipitation, what the percentage of precipitation is for that day, for that week, and actually send a push notification that says, hey, you've had 0% chance of rain over the past week. You need to water your lawn. And it actually gives it how much you need to water your lawn. You need to water it about 1 inch because you've had no rain this past week. So sending those reminders to make sure that people are watering their lawn. So we're already doing that in the app, but we want to take it to the next level and bring it into email. one thing that's really cool is, so there's these weather phenomenons that happen every single year. People experience dandelions in their yard. They experience crabgrass. And the things about that is there are very specific weather conditions that occur in order for those to pop up in your grass. They happen at the same time every year. So what we want to do, and again, the weather patterns are different in Florida versus in the north. We want to be able to, instead of doing the manual process of sending an email to people in Florida in February about crabgrass, and then in the north in April, the same message, it's very manual, it takes a lot of work, being able to do behavioral triggers based on the weather. So when these weather conditions, these weather patterns happen that are likely for dandelions or crabgrass to come out, sending them a message to say, hey, it's coming. Dandelions are coming in your yard. It's that time of year. It's time to go pick up a bag of X product to help combat the issue. So that's our next step. And we're really just going to start by testing a few different things. So like I mentioned, dandelions, crabgrass. It's kind of the first phase this upcoming season. And then if it works really well, it makes sense for us to expand that across our entire business, because everything we do is seasonal and everything we do is weather dependent. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. We have time for a couple of quick questions. Come back. Oh, a few of you. Okay, one in back and then you.
Great presentation. This is Monica from Just Fab. So you have a lot of multi-touch points across several channels, and you mentioned behavioral triggers. How are you ensuring that you're putting the most relevant messages to the customer with all these different behavioral triggers? How are you prioritizing over your batch and blast, over transactional emails that can, in totality, can inundate the inbox?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for us specifically, we also do have 6 different brands, and some of the brands, some people might be on multiple lists. So again, we don't want to send them too many messages. One really cool thing about Scott's is we have a lot of R&D people that give us information of when's the right time to send them this information. And we've looked at past data too. So this past year, we've had some emails that have gone out. We only sent 1 blast. That was it. Hugely successful, but we didn't send anything else. This year, we've really changed our plans to see what was successful last year and either expanding upon it this year, sending more messages of what was working well, or really taking a part of what was not working well. And I know we talked about this at another session, but our company has these overarching high strategies that kind of span across all of our brands. And ultimately, we go back to those strategies. And some of them are tactical, where it's like we want people to buy fertilizer more frequently. Or some of them are more, we want our customers to start a project with us. So based on those strategies, and we have 17 going into next year, everything we do across all of our channels, we look back to make sure we're delivering on those strategies. And if it's something that seems like, oh, it's kind of frivolous, or it's a product that's really not going to drive the needle or follow with those strategies, we actually cut it out of the plan. It's not something we do. So we want to make sure we are delivering exactly what the consumers need in the channel that they want, and it's really based on our strategies of what makes sense. So we do kind of eliminate that clutter by basing everything we do off of those high-level strategies.
Hi, nice job. Can you tell me who you're using for your web, your email, your direct mail to web test, or not test, that you've rolled out, and how you're seeing, what kind of lift you're seeing from it?
The direct mail piece?
The direct mail piece.
So we are still in progress with that. We are working with incremental media, and essentially what they do is they place a pixel on the website, and they're the ones that actually do the hard work, where they look at the data, and we don't just send mail to every single person that we don't have an email address on for. They have data scientists that actually analyze the information coming in, and it's the people that are doing multiple things on the website. Those are the ones that are most likely to convert. So it might be maybe 40% of the people that are on our site, and they're the ones that, on the back end, they actually are the ones that kind of, they're able to see the IP address, and they're able to kind of backtrack and append that IP address with a mailing address that they have in their system. And everything just kind of goes through them. And they trigger the postcard at the time, and our consumers will get the postcard within 2 to 3 days.
Is ideally the app where you really want them to be, is that the place where you're really having the highest level of engagement, interaction? And I'm curious about how successful you've been in getting people to adopt the app, and when they're not adopting the app, do you sort of have fallback models for how you'll use these other channels to sort of replicate the experience?
That's a great question, because not everybody wants to have the Scott's app. So one thing is we really focus on the start of the season. We drive the app at the beginning of the season, because the sooner you get started, right when spring gets started, your lawn will be in a lot better shape through the rest of the year. So we really do a lot of pushing of the app. We actually are doing pushing of the app through paid ads. So that's actually starting to run right now, and it's going to really ramp up in January. And it's really key to get people on the app early on in the season. So we're pushing that through ads. We are actually pushing it through email. It's not kind of it's usually in our newsletter, so it's not the primary spot where we talk about downloading the app. But one thing we do is we know who the people are that already have the app. So in our email messages, we use dynamic segmentation to kind of remove that widget of the mobile app for people who already have the app. So we're not giving them useless content that they already have.
Are you using the paid channel to remind people, to even current app users, are you using the paid media channel to remind them they have the app? Because recidivism is the big challenge for mobile apps. You have it, but you forget it, and then you eventually delete it.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Because again, we're a seasonal business. We're off season right now. Nobody's using the app. There's not a lot you can do. There's some content in there. But ultimately, you don't start using the app till probably February, kind of in the southern areas. So that is part of the strategies is to remind the current app users. So we'll actually just segment our emails out to just app users and remind them like, hey, it's the start of the season. Don't forget to reactivate your app. Here's some of the new features coming out. So really just getting them excited about, well, you have everything that you've done last year, but these are the new things that you can do in the app this year. So reminding them that at the beginning of the season to kind of get them re-engaged, and they might have forgotten, like you said, because it's been a whole season that they had used it.
So go ahead. Let's do one last.
So you touched, Luke from Intel, you touched a little bit on your messaging about, kind of using the hook of, hey, like your neighbor's yard looks really good, so make sure to up your game. And I can totally sympathize with that because my neighbor is kind of like that. How, in terms of just like your messaging and your content that goes out, like how much do you use like that kind of like MB to kind of really push people into taking action?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And again, it kind of goes back to looking at our personas and looking at our audience. We know a lot about our Scott's audience, and a lot of those folks are actually in suburban areas. It's usually males within the 50 to 65 age range. So we know a lot about them. And we know that they're in these nice suburban neighborhoods, and that's usually what they want. They want to have the best lawn. They're the ones buying our products. And Scott's is a premium product. Our products are a little bit more expensive than other products, other fertilizers out there. And so the people that are using our products, they are the ones that do want the best lawn on the block. It actually is kind of a competition. They want to have the coolest lawn. They want to be the coolest neighbor. So that is a tactic that we do use, and it just works for that audience.